And either that remains, or as independence. Either as independence, or if you wish, everybody to his choice, under the banner of Imperium Europa. Each nation will have an Imperium Europa representative in Europe. Once there, all we have to do is gather a group of 20, because it was 18, now they put it 20. They are so terrified, these people, of this concept, because I know it. I'll tell you in just a moment how. Well, the leader of the socialists in Europe, a chap called Schulz, an obnoxious chap, who Berlusconi once called, "You are the perfect actor to take the part of camp commandant in the German." He actually told him that, in front of everybody laughing. But she's really obnoxious. My friend works in the Welser, he tells me. So this Schulz of the socialists, came to Malta for a brief visit, 2 or 3 days, in order to meddle in the election process of the leader of our local socialists. He came to back somebody up. 3 days later, as soon as he returned to Europe, guess what? His assistant proposed a motion to Europe to increase the threshold to form a new right group from 20, so it was 18 to 20, from 20 to 30. It's just like the fuel surcharge, from 20 to 30. With the man who proposed this, an Englishman by the name of Corbett, Merseyside, perhaps you know him, said this will put paid to any aspirations of the right wing to ever again form a new group in Europe. You see, they're terrified of the idea. It's their only weak link. Now, I made a little research about this Corbett. I said, how could he go such flagrantly against democracy and instead of confronting our idea of Imperium in open debate in Brussels, go through this meschina in English, meschinita, this slow... Yes, to keep us out. I said, let's see. And I visited his website, this Mr. R. Corbett, and I found out that for 10 years he was a civil servant. Well, not exactly, to prepare you for statesmanship, but anyway, he was a civil servant. He's the president of the Friends of All football club, somewhere. He's president of the anti-racism group in Europe. He's president of the disability group within the EU Parliament, president of the Peace for the Saharani People, somewhere in Africa, and last but not least, president of the British Beer Club within the EU parliamentary buildings. So these are the people who have to sweep away from Brussels this political detritus floating on the surface of a decayed democracy, you see, and they fear us, only us they fear. They don't fear the other mainstream parties, it's nothing to them, they buy them out. It's us that they fear. So once we get to Europe, if you contest, the Brits here, the French, wherever, I'm in contact with many people, once we get to Europe and form this Nova Europa group, which will then launch the Imperium in 2012, I'll come to that later. Once we get to Europe, we have to be unashamedly elitists, propound an elitist philosophy. For those who don't know, the title of my talk here, my talk today is The New Right Will Lead Europe Through Elitism and Populism. So in Brussels, we have to propound a philosophy of elitism. We have to be the precursors of the elite of the future, those whose realm are the 5 prerogatives I was talking earlier. we have to brazenly preach an aristocratic view of life, aristocracy in the sense of spirit and character. And as the world crisis precipitates, this elite, or precursors of the elite, ourselves, will be increasingly perceived as the true guardians of the people, the populism side. That role, formerly the role of monarchs and kings, we will assume, because our regencies today, our monarchs have betrayed us, unfortunately, our dynasties. So we have to subrogate them. We have to assume the role as elitists of guardians of the people. And the people appreciate that, because they can't stand anymore the hypocrisy of the types of the one I just described. In a short time, we will acquire dominance over the mainstream politicians. Why? It's so simple. EU today dictates. Once we get the leverage between the two major groupings in Europe, once we get stronger, we will prevail. Our ideas will prevail. And we will influence so many important sectors of high politics. We will influence the nations, the various nations, eventually the regions, as we dislocate them from the nation state. You see, we'll encourage the regions. The Basques, and we made a little exercise in Malta. From Ireland to Poland, there are 297 distinct regions and ethnicities in Europe. And they all want to hark back to their original way of life, the Tyrolese, this, that, whatever they are. 297, I was amazed, didn't know many of them that they ever existed. And they will join us. We will dislocate them from the nation state, and we will be directly influencing them, and in turn getting their allegiance. He can then raise, Schultz or Corbyn can then raise the threshold to 100, because we'll still beat him at it, because we'll have the regions voting for us, you see. Everything follows. And we will decide policies on immigration, for example. You see, these porous borders of ours in Europe, Malta's being inundated every day, boats. As soon as they leave Libya, the territorial waters of Libya, they've got satellite and phone so that the Maltese and the Italians go and save them. It's a tragedy. The spiritual underpinning, and when Norman Noel confronts this on TV or public meetings, because I hold public meetings, you see, and I hope to see that this will start here, will start confronting our enemies publicly, wherever in Britain. When I confront them, what is the last refuge of these scoundrels? Christianity.